Hello there and welcome to Virgo season. This is the archetype of sacred refinement. And this is week 1 to our SOULstrology show where we're going to dive into you meeting the archetype. Each week we'll build upon the next one and then we'll wrap Virgo season with a Virgo workshop where I teach you how to discover Virgo in your birth chart. And then we do that for each archetypal season. So welcome into the SOULstrology show. Virgo season is so powerful because it's a new archetypal energy, right? We just wrapped up Leo season and we're going to spend, like I said, the next several weeks exploring Virgo and understanding this archetype before we personalize it through your birth chart and what that means to you. So if you come back every Monday, you're going to learn even more about Virgo so that by the time you get to the SOULstrology Virgo workshop at the end of the month, which is September 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern, you're going to have a good baseline of Virgo and understand it. And also, if you don't make it every week to the weekly show, I will do a quick review at the beginning of the workshop before we dive into applying it to your birth chart and the next steps from there. So Virgo is sacred refinement, okay? So it's about going in, looking at what's not working and making it better in an honorable way, right? So that means even if it's all fucked up, you just need to honor that and go, okay, I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to tweak that. I'm going to do better here. I'm going to do better there, right? I'm going to refine this. I'm going to upgrade that. Not, oh, I messed this up. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough at this. It's not that, right? It's not talking shit to yourself. It's just looking at what is and then improving it and making that better, right? And it's also that discernment. Virgos are very discerning. You can't really take a Virgo and lead it along the way. It's going to look at what's going on. It's going to look at the evidence. It's going to look at the information, and then it's going to make that decision. From there, though, when a Virgo steps forward, they're highly devoted and they have a lot of practical wisdom to offer. And so another really great thing about Virgo is that they make something useful, right? They're really good at that. If things are like not being used or if it's not being utilized, then a Virgo is going to come through and say, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could use it for this, you could use it for that. And they're also really powerful at bringing order to what feels scattered. So when you look at a Virgo in its archetype, it is an earth sign. However, it's ruled by Mercury. We also have Gemini that is ruled by Mercury. However, it's an air sign. So when we look at Virgo ruled by Mercury, it brings order to what feels scattered. That's a really powerful thing with Virgo, and that's that earth energy. All right. So one of the things to pull from Virgo is it's the power in the details. All right. So it's an earth sign, meaning very grounded and stable and consistent, really embodied and tangible, and mutable, meaning that it's adaptable and it's responsive and it will refine. See, the earth wants something usable. So the mutable earth, it adjusts, it improves, it refines, right? And then with that mercurial energy that I was just talking about, it processes and it analyzes. So with Virgo, it notices what others miss and it takes that information, it organizes it, and it applies it. And so it's the difference between knowing something and then integrating that something into life. That's the power of Virgo. And with Mercury there, it's the mind, it's the analysis, it's the communication, it's the thoughts, the words, it's the what they do with the information, right? And also Mercury rules technology as well. So that gives you a great base of, what you're getting with the earth, the mutable, and the Mercury here with Virgo. All right. So Virgo will ask you, like, what becomes more intentional or what can become more intentional? See, I always, that quote, like the road to hell is paved by good intentions. One of the things with Virgo is it's like, what can you do to be more intentional? So instead of being like, oh, I didn't intend it that way, that's a call forward for you when there's a situation where you say or do something, or you don't say or don't do something, and then someone receives that and gives a meaning to it that doesn't match what you wanted it to mean. So instead of saying, oh, that's not what I intended, go back to the drawing board and ask yourself, what needs to become more intentional here? What are your actions that need to become more intentional? Is it your habits, your systems, your daily choices? Maybe you're stepping more into yourself, like your health and your routines, or maybe it's your standards that you set for yourself first and foremost. And then the people that you allow in your quality world, right? Or upgrading a craft or a skill and being more intentional with it. So Virgo is asking you, like, what needs tending to, and where could a small adjustment change everything for you? So when it comes to Virgo, right, instead of it being perfection, it's about refinement. Now, there's that small fine line, and we'll talk next week about like the light and the growth, or the light and the shadow of Virgo. There's that fine line between refinement and perfection, though, because if you're looking and waiting and pushing for perfection, then you never actually move and there's nothing to refine. And so that's something to be very mindful of. But Virgo season is calling you to be more intentional and quit making excuses for, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Well, if you didn't mean it that way and you didn't intend it that way, then what the fuck do you need to do things differently? And remember that Virgo is in everyone's chart. You don't need to be a Virgo to harness that Virgo energy, to have that Virgo energy, to work with that Virgo energy. There's lots of different places in your chart where Virgo could be and show up to help you lead and to refine and to discern and to become more intentional, right? So when you're looking at Virgo in your real life and in our world here in the queendom, the SOULstrology queendom, we look at everything through soul, love/relationships, and wealth, okay? So we just say soul, love, and wealth. And Virgo is calling in here. In your soul, how are you tending to yourself? How are you being intentional with yourself? How are you showing up for yourself? How are you being fucking radically honest with yourself and telling yourself the motherfucking truth, right? Virgo is about realism, right? There's no bullshit here. There's no performance here. It's just pulling things out as they are, making a decision from that information that you have, or understanding the information that you have, and then making a decision to do things differently, right? That's what Virgo is asking you to do. And if you do this, you're going to be highly productive during this season, and you're really going to shift the way you show up and do things through communication and your groundedness and how you move. Now, through love, it's like, how am I showing up in the everyday? So you're looking at, how are you showing up in your relationship with your partner first and foremost? And is the way that you're showing up the way that you want to be showing up? Is the way that your partner feels from you, whether that's love, action, energy, partnership, is that the way that you want them to feel? Now, I'm a firm believer that you can't control the way someone feels. However, you can control your actions, and are those actions what you're living up to, what you want to be, what you honor, value, respect? Like, are you showing up as the fucking person that you want to be in your romantic relationship? And then taken one step further after that, not before, but after that, look at your love relationship first. Then you look at the people in your quality world and you apply it to them. And then the third piece of this in the SOULstrology queendom is wealth, right? Everything is done through the lens of soul, love, and wealth. And it's, what are you consistently building? What am I consistently building as far as your finances, your legacy, your career, your business? And is what you're building something that is sustainable? Does it need refinement? Does it need growth, upgrading? Like, what are you being called for here? And what needs to be cleaned up when it comes to your wealth, right? So when you're looking through these three lenses, when you're looking through soul, it's like your daily practices and your self-awareness and healing through that repetition and what actually supports you. When you're looking at love, it's those acts of care and reliability and attention, communication, everyday relationship patterns. Virgo says, clean it up, upgrade it, refine it, make it better, right? And then when you're looking at your wealth, it's your systems, your skill, your consistency, your organization, refining what works and turning ability into something valuable. That's where the craft and skill comes in. Is there something that you do day in and day out that you can actually turn into something valuable for you, something you can make money from, something you can create a legacy from? And the worst thing anybody could ever say is, I don't want my hobby to be a business because I don't want to like it. I don't want to not like it anymore. That is such a fucking misconception, that if your hobby is turned into a business that you won't like the hobby anymore. That's so flippant, right? And you're looking at that as just this, it's just that way. That's the meaning that you're giving it. Your hobby doesn't have to be something that you end up hating because you turn it into a business. Your actions, how you look at it, how you honor it, how you value it, how you respect it, how you move with it, your consistency, what your boundaries, what your standards are, that all will determine whether or not the hobby you turn into a business is something you hate, not just the fact that you decide to turn your hobby into a business. So I wanted to call that forward. So when you look at Virgo, you're looking at discernment and devotion and mastery. mastery, like knowing what deserves your attention and devotion through the repeated action. So if you're looking to be consistent, right? If you have a business, it's like stop starting over in your relationships, your business, and your health, and with yourself and your mind, your body, your soul. Like Virgo says, knock that shit off and start doing repeated actions so you know where you need to refine, right? Mastery comes through that refinement, but if you're not taking the repeated action, you don't even know what to refine. And so Virgo says the details become powerful and those small things compound. And so that will create the order that supports your life. And so the key here is to become excellent at what matters most. That's what Virgo says. And that's the power of Virgo here. So where has refinement, though, become pressure for you? Because when Virgo asks for healing, it's saying, hey, if you're refining things and it's becoming pressure, you're coming from the wrong space. You're in that perfectionism. You're in that overanalysis. You're in that hypercriticism, right? And so in this state, like things never feel finished and there's constant fixing and your worth is tied to your usefulness instead of, this is what I did. This is the result that I got. Okay, I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to upgrade that. I'm going to edit that. And I'm going to do better next time. If your worth is tied to your usefulness and you're thinking, I'm not good at this. I'm a failure. I'm an imposter. I shouldn't do this. See, other people have success and I don't. And so you end up in this cycle, and this is the shadow and like kind of the stepping into the shadow of the Virgo, and where you end up serving until you're depleted. And you're looking at what's wrong before seeing what's working. And so Virgo says, look at what's working, double down on that, and then look at what's not working and then make your refinements there. Don't make it mean something. Make your refinements there and be very mindful of the standards you have becoming punishment if you don't reach them. Remember, the standards are the intention. The standards is like your North Star, right? That's what your intention is to reach. And if you don't reach it, you just, like I said, make those refinements to get there. Right. And so the intention is to live in the healthy Virgo, which is discernment with compassion. So when you look at Virgo through the elements, we know that Virgo is an earth sign, but how you might experience Virgo is, let's say it's living some place in your chart that brings fire. And so Virgo will give the vision to the process, right? When you're looking at Virgo in your chart in earth, right, then Virgo strengthens what you're building. Through air, it organizes thought into application, and water, Virgo gives emotion a practice. Now, this is very high level, and I'm going to stay here because when we get into the workshop at the end of the month, we'll dive deeper into these and how they actually apply to you. Remember, this is a free workshop, and we really hope that you attend this workshop. It gets rave reviews, whether you know nothing about SOULstrology or you are very big into your chart astrology, you know all the things, you will walk away with so much clarity, learning so much more and understanding yourself so much better so that you can honor yourself in ways that you never have before, right? So when you're working with Virgo's asking you to notice it, then create discernment here. What is this telling me? And then when you get the information from what it's telling you, you refine from there, and then you have that repetition. Like Tony Robbins says, repetition is the mother of skill. And so it's really important that you stay in that repetition so that you can build the skill and you use the refinement. So that way you're doing the things that work and improve upon the things that don't, instead of, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's why you have the noticing end, right? That's where you're in the analysis. You have that discernment. Okay, what's this calling me forward to? What is this the information that it's giving me? Okay, what am I going to refine? And then I'm going to practice that. And am I getting the result that I want? If not, then you just start it over. Notice, where are you not getting the result? Why are you not getting that result? What are you going to do about it? And then here's your action plan, right? That's literally Virgo. That's what Virgo says. Notice the pattern, decide what actually matters, make that adjustment and repeat it, and let that refinement compound, right? Virgo is telling you to look for the small things, asking for the attention that you can repeat and get to the result that you want. Okay. So when you're looking at where does Virgo live in your chart, everyone has Virgo somewhere. The house shows the life territory for Virgo. Your planets and points actually intensify that story or give those that territory meaning. And then Mercury, which is the communication, adds another layer. So the planet adds another layer. And for me, And in the world, this is where generic zodiac information stops, because that's all it's there for. It's just like kind of this generic information. Even if you got a birth chart reading, that birth chart reading spits out all this information. You get it in your email, you read through it, you think you get yourself. I promise you, until you show up in my world, and SOULstrology, which is a term that I've coined. A SOULstrologist is my title that I made up. SOULstrology is my own trademark. That's where you learn how this becomes personal. You will learn your chart in a completely different way in my world, just because of the way that I do things. So I want you to register for the Virgo workshop. You can go to workshop.powercoachalicia.com, screenshot this, get your ass over there, get registered right now. It's open for registration. Save your seat. And then as we lead up to the workshop, I'll give you reminders and stuff like that. It's at the time that I'm recording this, it's a few weeks away, almost a month away at the time that I'm recording this, but get in there, put it in your calendar, and commit to yourself to showing up. Yes, the workshop's free. However, your time, your energy, and attention is not free. And I promise you, I always make it worth it. So you're going to find out where Virgo lives. You're going to recognize how Virgo may already be operating in your life with you, for you, or against you. Understand the life area that it activates, and then beginning to intentionally work with it. That's what this workshop is designed to do. There's nothing like this out there, because I'm very big on customization and simplicity and creating simple systems that help you understand it and deploy it. I've been this way the entire time that I have been a business owner. I can take very complex things and break them down in a way that you get it like you never have before. That's why going and getting a birth chart reading and hanging out with me throughout the SOULstrology show and the workshop at the end of the month will give you well more information, details, and practical application than really anything else out there. So with that being said, next week, week 2, we're going to talk about the gifts and the shadow of Virgo, and where your greatest Virgo power can become your greatest pressure. All right. So I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are watching this on YouTube. If not, go to YouTube, search for Power Coach Alicia. Make sure you subscribe. Join us for the next SOULstrology show every single Monday. New show drops at 9 a.m. Eastern right on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you go there. And, actually, rephrase. I don't believe it is 9 a.m. Eastern. Let me go look right now. I'm just, making up stuff along the way. Hold on. Let me go look really, really, really fast, because I want to give you the right time. I don't even know. It's not even on here. It is going to be Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Yes, 5 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. It'll be out there. Okay. So you will have that. It's the energy of the week. So I was correct on that. And then keep in mind, I have so much for you, right? If you want to dive into understanding your birth chart as it pertains to you, how you work, how you tick, how you move, and a much greater detail, and you're applying this to your life day in and day out, or I should say week in and week out, that's inside of the Queendom. The link is below in the show notes or in my bio. You can go, you can join, you can rock it out with us inside of the Queendom, and you're going to learn so much about yourself and how to honor yourself where you're at. So that is a wrap for week 1 of Virgo, where you met the archetype. And next week, we'll be talking about the gifts and shadows of Virgo. Make sure you go to workshop.powercoachalicia.com and sign up for the free Virgo workshop on September 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you next time.